Let's revisit the future value graphing program from an earlier video and look for repeated code. Creating the labels is one place where there's repeated code, but each one of those is only one line long. There might be some benefit in writing a function that would take the amount as a parameter and create the label at the correct location, or takes both the amount and the string for the label as parameters, but would not make the code more organized and readable. The other repeated code is creating the rectangles. The steps are basically the same in each place. We make the rectangle, set its fill color to green, and its border width to 2, and then draw it. Looking at the code that creates the rectangles, it should be obvious we will need parameters to indicate where to draw it and what its height is, since those values vary. The year determines the location, and the principal determines the height. So we'll start by making a function named drawBar that takes those two parameters and name the formal parameters x and height. We'll create the rectangle based on those and set its fill color and width. Now we're ready to draw it, and we realize that we don't have access to the GraphWin window from the main function in our drawBar function. So we'll need to add a third parameter we'll call window. Now we can call the draw method for the rectangle we created. Next, we find the two places we had this code and replace them with the function call. The first is before the loop to draw the rectangle for the initial amount. We call drawBar and pass year, principal, and win as the actual parameters. Remember, the name of the formal parameters and actual parameters do not need to match up. What does matter is the order of the parameters. The first formal parameter is the x-coordinate of the left side of the rectangle, and year is what determines it. The second formal parameter is the height of the rectangle, and principal stores it. And the third formal parameter is for the window, and the variable win is the GraphWin in which we want to draw the window. We can now make the same changes inside the for loop. This avoids repeating the code and makes it easier to change. For example, if we want to make the rectangles black, we only need to change the code in the function. The key thing to remember is each time the function is called, the parameters are assigned as if we had written x equals year, height equals principal, and window equals win before executing the body of the function. So each function call potentially gets different values for the parameters each time it is called. In this case, the window formal parameter will always be receiving the same GraphWin object, but the values for x and height will vary for each call. If we run it, we can see that it still works correctly. Here's the version from the textbook. In this version, the order of the parameters is different in the function definition. The GraphWin window is first, followed by the year and the height. That means the order of the actual parameters when we actually call the function must match. We can see the order in the two calls does match as we're passing the GraphWin, the year, and the principal each time.